Many people think the modeling industry is glamorous, standing on stage under dazzling lights, walking a few steps in stunning outfits, and fame and fortune follow. But if the industry's dark side were exposed, it would leave many stunned. Some even bluntly say this circle appears like a dazzling show on the surface, but beneath lies undercurrents of chaos. Korean films dare to depict it because they don't sugarcoat reality. Instead, they lay bare those hidden rules, sending chills down the audience's spines. In the modeling world, competitions and opportunities aren't always decided by talent alone. Many seemingly fair stages hide shady deals behind the scenes. Some models, desperate to advance, abandon their principles to win judges' favor. It might sound hard to accept, but to some, it's an open secret, a shortcut. Of course, not everyone in the industry chooses this path. Some still hold onto their principles, hoping to earn recognition through hard work and skill. Yet in an environment where unwritten rules dominate, such people often struggle. Despite putting in equal or even more effort, they're constantly left behind by those taking shortcuts. Xiaomei stands at such a crossroads. She's always dreamed of becoming a top model, believing hard work would eventually bring her big break. But reality hit her hard. This modeling competition means everything if she advances. She could step onto a bigger stage and even change her life. Yet as the contest progresses, she uncovers a harsh truth. Some rivals seem to have already won from the starting line without even trying. The most frustrating, Xiaoqi. Not only does Xiaoqi have a flawless figure, her striking charisma is also flamboyant. More importantly, she always seems to receive extra attention from the judges. Whether during rehearsals or the actual competition, Xiaoqi consistently gets more opportunities. Over time, everyone had their suspicions, but no one wanted to voice them. Xiaomei wasn't foolish. She knew exactly what was going on, but after being repeatedly sidelined, her confidence began to waver. She started questioning whether she was just too naive. After a long internal struggle, Xiaomei finally made a difficult decision. That night, she knocked on the judge's door. When the judge saw her standing there, he already guessed her intentions. Yet he pretended to be clueless, wearing a polite smile as he invited her inside. His faux gentlemanly demeanor only made the atmosphere more awkward. Xiaomei sat stiffly on the sofa. This was her first time after all, and her nerves were all over the place. She had dressed carefully to highlight her figure, knowing any man would struggle not to steal a second glance. To ease the tension, Xiaomei suggested having a beer. The moment she stepped away, she quickly pulled a little trick. She shook the beer bottle vigorously, causing the gas inside to expand rapidly. When the cap was popped, the beer gushed out, drenching her. What seemed like an accident was, in fact, all part of her carefully planned scheme. With her clothes soaked, Xiaomei naturally asked to use the bathroom to clean up. Her plan was simple. Once she got into the bathroom, the rest would fall into place. But she never expected things to take such an unexpected turn. Just as she stood up and reached the bathroom door, the room's door suddenly swung open, revealing Xiaoqi, who stood there with a knowing smirk, as if watching a rehearsed performance. Xiaomei froze, her mind blank, utterly clueless about what was happening. Then, out of nowhere, the judge suddenly burst into laughter, a loud, exaggerated cackle that echoed through the room, instantly making the atmosphere unbearably tense. It turned out that, from the early stages of the competition, the judge had already been cozy with Xiaoqi. She took the initiative to approach her, and the other was happy to play along. A tacit understanding had long formed between them, so when Xiaomei came knocking, she already knew the truth. The reason she didn't expose it directly was simply to see how far Xiaomei would go. To be precise, she wanted to treat it as a joke. Xiaoqi walked over to the judge and intimately linked arms with her, making their relationship crystal clear. At that moment, Xiaomei finally understood the decision she had mustered the courage to make was nothing more than a farcical performance in others' eyes. The judge had been laughing at her from the start, while Xiaoqi watched on with amusement. That sense of humiliation hit her like a sledgehammer, crushing her heart. In the end, she said nothing and turned to leave the room. Xiaomei walked alone to the laundry room door, leaning against the wall in a daze. The washing machine beside her hummed, spinning round and round. At that moment, she suddenly felt like she'd been tossed into the washing machine, tossed and churned by fate. She knew all too well that although she hadn't actually taken that final step, the moment she decided to knock on that, a crack had already formed in her heart. Clothes can be washed clean, but how can a tainted heart ever be cleansed? The next day, the modeling competition proceeded as scheduled. Xiaomei knew the championship was likely beyond her reach, but she refused to give up. On stage, she gave her best performance for the audience. Yet even so, she couldn't rival Xiaoqi, who not only had the judges' support, but also the most dazzling outfit. In comparison, the other contestants paled. Barring any surprises, Xiaoqi had practically secured the championship in advance. However, fate can be cruelly ironic. Just as the competition neared its end, Xiaoqi strutted confidently down the runway, but the moment she turned, her high heels emitted a crisp snap. The heel broke. Losing her balance, Xiaoqi tumbled awkwardly off the runway. The audience erupted in shock. This sudden accident completely altered the competition's outcome. Xiaoqi's unable to continue the competition and even struggling to stand. Second place Xiaomei unexpectedly became the new champion. At this moment, fate seemed to play a cruel joke. Xiaomei had finally realized her dream, yet her emotions were far from the relief she'd imagined. Freshly crowned the modeling competition champion, before she could savor the victory, danger had already crept in silently. When Xiaomei woke up, everything was pitch black. The air reeked of dampness and mildew, and the silence was unnerving. Slowly sitting up, she realized she was trapped in a narrow, gloomy cellar. To her horror, a sharp pain shot through her cuff. Looking down, she saw a gash oozing blood. For most, it might be just a minor wound, but for a professional model, it was nearly career-ending. The modeling industry demands perfection, especially in leg aesthetics. Even a slight flaw could cost jobs. Now, just as she'd become champion, at the dawn of her career, this scar cast a shadow over her future. But Xiaomei had no time to dwell on it. Compared to tomorrow, one thing mattered more now: how to escape. She scrambled toward the cellar exit, where a rickety iron ladder leaned against the wall, the only way out. But as she approached, her heart sank. A section of the ladder was broken, leaving the remaining portion far too short to reach the exit. Even with all her strength, climbing out was impossible. Realizing this, Xiaomei's hope collapsed. Just then, noises came from above. Before she could react, a backpack was thrown down through the cellar opening. Moments later, the backpack Suddenly, a phone rang. Xiaomei picked it up and froze. The caller ID displayed her own name. This eerie sight sent chills down her spine. After hesitating for a few seconds, she still answered the call. When the call connected, a processed voice came through, blurred and cold, devoid of any pleasantries. It simply stated, as long as Xiaomei reveals her deepest secret, she would be freed. A chill ran down Xiaomei's spine. She knew she had no choice. When under duress, one must yield. Refusal meant being abandoned here to fend for herself. After a moment of silence, she finally spoke. She confessed to having once entertained unethical thoughts. During the competition, she had considered using her body to curry favor with the judges, hoping for advancement. The memory filled her with shame, yet she had never told a soul. But that wasn't all. She revealed another secret. She had tampered with Xiaoqi's high heels, an act that led to Xiaoqi's accident on stage. After laying bare her secrets, Xiaomei felt both nervous and hopeful. She believed fulfilling the demand would secure her rescue from the cellar. Yet, the response was a cold laugh. The mysterious voice accused her of lying. Xiaoqi's accident wasn't her doing. Xiaomei froze, but soon regained composure. Replaying the caller's tone and phrasing, a familiar figure flashed in her mind. Seconds later, she tentatively uttered a name: Sister Jing. The line fell silent briefly. Though unconfirmed, Xiaomei was now certain the shadowy manipulator was none other than Sister Jing, her former competition rival. As for Sister Jing's motive, it traced back to an incident during the contest. Xiaoqi had proactively offered herself to a judge for favor, and when this was discovered, the scandal rippled through the modeling world. Many contestants, including Sister Jing, saw it as a stain on the profession's reputation. The news quickly spread throughout the modeling circle, causing quite a stir. Many contestants were outraged, feeling that such behavior was precisely why the public held negative perceptions of the industry. The industry has generated many negative perceptions. What was once a glamorous profession has been misunderstood as a place full of transactions and hidden rules. Over time, even those models who worked diligently were also subjected to gossip. So Sister Jing stepped forward and teamed up with other models to teach Xiaoqi a lesson. They secretly devised a plan and even approached Xiaomei, hoping she would join. Although Xiaomei was deeply disgusted by Xiaoqi's behavior, she still held onto a shred of kindness in her heart. She believed revenge wasn't the solution and ultimately declined the offer. Despite this, Sister Jing and the others didn't change their plan. They tampered with Xiaoqi's shoes, causing her to fall during the competition and lose the ability to live a normal life. After the incident, they thought everything would eventually fade away. But as time passed, their guilt grew heavier. They knew if this were exposed, each of them would bear an unforgivable crime. Meanwhile, Xiaomei acted as if nothing had happened. Not only did she not participate in the plan, but she also became the champion due to the accident. This stark contrast fueled Sister Jing's growing resentment. In their eyes, they took all the risks, yet Xiaomei reaped the rewards. The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. Jealousy and hatred festered, leading them to an extreme decision: to capture Xiaomei and make her disappear forever. Thus, the scene in the cellar unfolded. When Xiaomei realized what was happening, despair filled her heart. She pleaded desperately with Sister Jing, hoping for mercy, but the response was nothing but cold indifference. Soon the call ended. The heavy sound of the cellar door closing echoed above, cutting off the last ray of light. Darkness enveloped everything once more. Xiaomei leaned against the corner, her body slowly slipped away. At this moment, she finally realized that the fame and glory she had been chasing had unknowingly turned into an inescapable trap. The story ends abruptly here. In this film titled The movie's supermodel uses a seemingly simple story to unveil the most complex aspects of human nature. Many viewers feel outraged for Xiaomei by the end, believing she didn't directly participate in the harm caused. Yet Xiaoqi ends up in such tragedy. But if one carefully reflects on the entire process, things are far more complicated. Xiaomei indeed never laid hands, yet she knew about Jingji's schemes from start to finish. She chose silence, neither preventing nor warning Xiaoqi. In a way, this passive observation itself became complicity. More intriguingly, the person who gained most after Xiaoqi's downfall was Xiaomei's competitor. Her disappearance conveniently made Xiaomei the champion, resembling an invisible case of killing with a borrowed knife. Therefore, there are hardly any true heroes in this story. Everyone gets dragged deeper by desires and interests. The film's core message is simple. In complex environments, people easily lose their judgment to fame and fortune. Once taking wrong paths, the ones ultimately hurt are often themselves. Success built on calculations and conspiracies will eventually backfire. The strongest impression after watching is poignant sadness. Those girls who initially pursued dreams should have shined on stage, but jealousy, desires, and resentment made them gradually lose their way. In the end, no one truly wins. Perhaps this is exactly what the film wants to convey. No matter how complicated the environment, one must uphold inner integrity. As long as genuine hearts remain, people won't completely lose themselves. Otherwise, even standing on the grandest stage, one might still fall into the abyss the next moment.